Have you ever felt like you're fighting alone? Like no one sees how hard you're trying? Like the world is moving too fast and you've been left behind? Maybe you woke up today and wondered if it's still worth going on. Perhaps the pain, frustration, and disappointments have made you think about giving up. But before you make any decisions, let me talk to you, heart to heart, because this message could be the turning point in your life. Have you ever felt like everything and everyone moved forward, except for you? Have you ever felt like you're swimming against the current, as if every step forward is followed by 3 steps back? You pray, cry, try, but nothing changes. And then, that sneaky, cold, cutting thought comes. Has God forgotten me? It's hard to admit, but many have thought that. Some are thinking it right now as they listen to this message. God's silence can be deafening. The waiting can feel like an eternity. You start to wonder if something's wrong with you. Is your faith not enough? Did you do something to push him away? Did he abandon you? But listen to this. God has never forgotten you. The fact that you're still here, even if broken, is the living proof that he is taking care of you. Maybe you can't see it now, but God is working even when you don't feel it. And often, it's in his silence that he's working the most. You know, when you plant a seed, it doesn't sprout the very next day. You can't see what's happening underground. But there, in the dark, deep down, the root is forming. It's invisible to the eye, but it's essential. Without the root, the plant can't bear the weight of growth. Maybe that's what's happening with you right now. You're in the root season, the quiet phase of the promise, the invisible preparation for what is yet to bloom. In the Bible, Joseph had a dream. He saw what God had prepared for him. But what happened next? He was thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, betrayed, unjustly imprisoned, forgotten. Years passed. Do you think he never wondered, "Where is God?" But do you know what happened in the end? God made him the governor of Egypt. Everything that seemed like abandonment was part of the building of his purpose. Now think about your life. How many times did something that seemed like the end turn out to be just the beginning of a change? Maybe you lost a job and thought it was the end. But then you got something much better, something you would never have pursued if you hadn't lost the previous one. Maybe someone left your life, and you thought it was rejection. But today, you realize it was protection. And still, there are days when we don't see any of this. There are days when just getting out of bed feels like a battle. You look at the ceiling and think, "What's the point of continuing? Why does everything go wrong for me?" But let me remind you of a promise. Isaiah 49 verse 16 says, "Behold, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are continually before me." You are in his hands. It's not a metaphor. It's the truth. When God says he has engraved us on the palms of his hands, he is saying, "I carry you with me. I see your pain. I know your struggle. And I am here." That's why you can't give up now. How many things have you already overcome to get here? How many nights of crying have you survived? How many impossible situations have you conquered? Do you really think you made it here by chance? What if, right now, at the moment you're thinking about giving up, is when God is about to act? Many people give up just one day before the miracle happens. One step before the answer. One, "I can't take it anymore," before the breakthrough. And you? Are you going to let this dark thought stop you right now? Many well-known individuals, who are now role models, have gone through this. For example, singer Demi Lovato went through a true emotional hell. She battled addictions, disorders, and identity crisis. She was on the verge of death. And when everyone thought she was going to disappear, she was reborn. And what did she say? She said that in her darkest moments, the only thing that kept her going was the faith that God wasn't finished with her yet. This is true for you too. God is not done with you yet. And if you think you can't go on, that's okay. This is where God steps in with the strength you don't have. The Apostle Paul said, "When I am weak, then I am strong," because God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. It's not wrong to feel weak. It's not a sin to want to give up. The mistake is to believe that today's pain will last forever. Because it won't. It has an end. It has a purpose. It has a function to shape you. Do you know gold? It only becomes a jewel after it passes through the fire. And the purer the gold, the higher the temperature it must endure. You are being shaped by a God who doesn't throw away what he created with his own hands. You are too precious to be discarded in the middle of the process. So, here's a challenge for you. For the next 7 days, every day, before you go to bed, write down 3 things you are thankful for. Even if the day was difficult. Even if everything went wrong. Even if it's just, "I breathed today," or "I managed to get out of bed." This will train your heart to see God's care in the little things. And when you start noticing the small actions of God, you will realize that he has never abandoned you. He was just preparing you. And the best is yet to come. Not by force, nor by luck, but because God still writes happy endings. And yours has not come yet. Have you ever told yourself, "I can't take it anymore"? Have you ever felt like life is putting such a heavy burden on your shoulders that even breathing feels like too much effort? You look ahead and only see bills, problems, diagnoses, frustrations, silences. And you start to think, "Maybe I'm not as strong as I thought." But you know what? If you've made it this far, if you're listening to this message now, even tired, even feeling broken inside, you are much stronger than you think. Pain has the power to distort our perception. It makes us see ourselves as weak, defeated, like someone with no way out. But the truth is that your endurance up to this point already proves there is a strength within you that you may not even know exists. And this strength does not come from you alone. It comes from God. In the letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9, God tells Paul, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Do you see what he's saying? He doesn't ask for perfection or superpowers. He doesn't expect you to never cry, never fear, never feel pain. He only expects you to keep going. Even when you're weak. Even when you're trembling. Even with tears in your eyes. It is when you feel the weakest, the most tired, the most exhausted, that God's power is made manifest with greater intensity in your life. Maybe you've been trying to carry everything on your own for far too long. You try to be strong for everyone around you. You smile when inside, you're falling apart. You listen to others, solve their problems, but go to bed feeling like no one is truly listening to you. How many times have you thought, "If I disappeared, would anyone even notice?" How many times have you swallowed your tears in the bathroom or screamed silently into your pillow because you couldn't break down in front of anyone? But let me remind you, you're not weak for feeling this way. You're strong because you keep going, despite it all. Think of that parent who wakes up early to work even with their body aching and their heart broken, but can't stop because they have children to care for. Or that young person who studies, works, helps at home, and still carries the weight of anxiety in silence because they believe no one would understand. These people are stronger than they realize. And maybe one of them is you. How many times have you fallen, thought it was the end, but got up the next day and tried again? How many times have you heard, "No," but kept pushing forward? Look at your story. How many battles have you won without even noticing? Do you really think someone weak could go through all of this and still be standing? Remember Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple? He was fired from his own company, publicly humiliated, discredited. But he didn't give up. He used that fall as fuel. He created a new company, came back with more wisdom, more experience, and changed the world of technology. The difference between those who win and those who give up is not in the pain, it's in the decision to keep going, even with the pain. And this is where God steps in. He's not waiting for you to be 100% to help you. He doesn't need you to be perfect to love you. He steps into the middle of your chaos and says, I strengthen you. I support you. I help you. It's not about never feeling fear. It's about moving forward even when you're scared. It's not about never wanting to give up. It's about pushing on when everything inside of you screams to surrender. And as tough as it may seem, there's a secret that can help you a lot. Do you want to know what it is? Stop comparing yourself. Yes, comparison is one of the biggest causes of feeling like a failure. You look at other people's social media, see their smiles, their trips, their achievements, and start to think, everyone else is winning, except me. But what you see is just the highlight reel. You don't see the behind the scenes. You don't see the tears, the struggles, the sleepless nights. And God isn't calling you to live someone else's story. He's calling you to live your own. And in this story, your pain has a role. Your weakness does too. It's at the bottom of the pit that many people find the strength to reinvent themselves. It's when everything seems lost that the most creative ideas, the most beautiful new beginnings, and the strongest testimonies are born. So, don't underestimate what you're going through. It's not punishment. It's not bad luck. It's fertile ground for a new season. You don't need to be invincible. You just need to be honest with God. Say, Lord, I'm tired. I'm weak. But help me keep going. And you know what He'll do? He'll give you strength you never imagined you had. He'll renew your energy. He'll show you that you are capable. Capable of starting over, of growing, of winning. And here's a challenge for you. For 5 days, write down a small victory you had each day. It doesn't have to be something huge. It could be, today, I got up even when I didn't feel like it. Today, I went to work even though I wasn't feeling well. Today, I smiled at someone, even with a heavy heart. When you start recognizing your own strength, you'll realize that you're much more resilient than you ever imagined. And little by little, you will rise again. You've endured many hardships, but none of them were bigger than the plan that God has for your life. And believe me, you will one day look back on this time and see it as the most powerful chapter of your story. There are moments in life when everything inside of us cries out for relief. The pain seems endless. The suffering drags on day after day, as if the clock stopped at the darkest point of our story. And it's in that place, that point where no one sees you, where you're tired of pretending to be okay, that a silent yet profound question arises. Why am I going through this? It's hard to understand. It's hard to accept that the pain might have a purpose. We've been taught that happiness is the goal, and that everything painful should be avoided. But what if it's that very pain that's pushing you toward the purpose God has for your life? The truth is, no one grows in comfort. The greatest miracles in the Bible came from pain. Hannah only had Samuel after years of humiliation and barrenness. David only defeated Goliath after being rejected by even his own family. And Jesus, the Son of God Himself, cried, sweated blood, was betrayed, carried a cross, and was crucified. Do you think God couldn't have prevented all of that? Of course He could have. But there was a purpose. And the purpose always goes beyond what our eyes can see. Pain is not the end. Pain is the process. How many times have you looked back and thought, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have matured. If I hadn't lost that, I wouldn't have found myself. If that person hadn't left my life, I would still be stuck in a cycle that was harming me. Maybe today you're in the middle of that process. You've lost someone. You're facing an illness. You've been betrayed, abandoned, or failed in a way you never thought possible. And everything inside of you just wants this phase to end. But listen, pain is also part of the building process. It's like surgery. It hurts. It's painful, but it heals. The doctor cuts to save. And God, the great physician, often allows cuts, to heal deep areas we didn't even know were sick. How many people, after going through painful moments, discovered talents they had never explored? How many started businesses after being fired? How many drew closer to God after having their hearts broken? That's what happens when you understand that pain is not punishment. It's refinement. The butterfly must emerge from the cocoon on its own. If someone tries to help and opens the cocoon too soon, it dies. Because it's in the struggle to emerge that its wings gain strength. Without effort, without pain, it would never fly. And maybe you're in your cocoon right now. Dark. Tight. Not understanding why you're being crushed from within. But you will emerge. And you will fly. With wings that only pain can develop. The writer J.K. Rowling is a clear example of this. She was a single mother, unemployed, living on government assistance, battling depression, rejected by several publishers. She had hit rock bottom. But it was there, in the midst of pain, that she wrote the first Harry Potter book. She herself said, "It was when I stopped pretending to be someone I wasn't that I began to become who I truly am." How many times have you tried to hide your pain? How many times have you heard, "It will pass," while inside you scream, "But when?" God is not in a hurry, because what He is building inside of you is not fragile. It is eternal. And what is eternal takes time. Look at the cross. Jesus went through all of that. But after the pain came the resurrection. And that is what is reserved for you. After the pain comes new life. Comes revealed purpose. Comes the answer. Maybe you don't understand it now. But one day you will look back and say, "It was hard. But it was worth it. It hurt. But it transformed me. I thought I was going to die. But that's when I started living for real." So, please, don't waste your pain. Don't run from it. Learn from it. Ask, "What is this trying to teach me? In which area of my life do I need to grow?" Pain screams, but God whispers. And sometimes, in the midst of suffering, it's when we hear His voice clearer than ever. Here's an invitation. For 1 week, take 15 minutes out of your day to sit in silence before God, without asking for anything. Just saying, "Speak to me, Lord. Show me what you want me to learn from this season." You will be surprised, because God speaks in the midst of the storm. And if you stay alert, you will realize that He is teaching you how to swim in deep waters. You aren't made to drown. You were made to cross. And in the end, you will not come out of this pain the same way you entered it. You will come out stronger, more mature, and closer to the purpose God has for you. There are days when everything seems to have lost its meaning. You look around and see no way out. You look inside and find no strength. And deep down, you start to believe that your story is already over. That this difficult chapter you're living through is the final period. That the dream is over. That the marriage can't be fixed. That the health won't return. That the project won't get off the ground. That you tried everything and failed. But let me tell you something you may need to hear more than anything else right now. Your story is not over. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen. It doesn't matter how many new beginnings you've had. It doesn't matter if you feel like you have no more chances. God is still writing. And He is not like men who give up halfway. He doesn't abandon unfinished stories. When God starts a work, He finishes it. And He finishes it well. How many times have you put down a book halfway because the chapter was too heavy? The character's pain was too deep? Things were too hard? But if you had just turned a few more pages, you would have seen the twist. You would have read the miracle. You would have felt the relief. You would have found the happy ending. Maybe that's what's happening to you now. You're in the hardest chapter of your life. But the author is still writing. And the author is God. And He writes like no one else. He writes stories of new beginnings, of restoration, of overcoming. In the Bible, the psalmist David said in Psalm 30 verse 5, Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. The night may seem long, cold, silent, but it is not eternal. It passes, and the dawn comes. It always comes. And when it arrives, everything begins to change. You may be feeling tired of trying today. Perhaps you placed too much expectation on something that didn't work out. Maybe someone promised you love and left you. Perhaps you built something over the years and saw it collapse overnight. You might be going through the hardest financial crisis of your life, or the greatest internal crisis, and it feels like no one understands you. It's as if no one sees you, as if you are invisible. But listen carefully, God sees you, and He's not done yet. You know that feeling that everything is falling apart? Sometimes, it's not the end. It's God rebuilding it His way, because He doesn't work with fragile structures. He tears down what's poorly built so that, upon the rock, He can raise something that lasts. Something that can withstand time, pain, and the storms of life. Have you ever seen a renovation? The demolition is ugly. It's loud. It's messy. But no one starts a renovation by painting the walls. It starts with breaking things down, because it's necessary to remove what's compromised to build something new and better. And maybe what you're going through right now is that. A phase of breaking, of confusion, of loss. But it doesn't mean destruction. It means renewal. You may not see it now. You may not understand it. But God is rewriting your story. And what's ahead is infinitely greater than everything that's behind. How many people today shine, but once thought about giving up? How many people inspire today, but were once disbelieved? Take Gabriel Jesus, for example. He used to paint sidewalks in the neighborhood where he lived during the 2014 World Cup to make some money. He was just another kid with a dream. For years later, he was playing in the World Cup for the Brazilian national team. Can you imagine if he had given up? Can you imagine if he had believed that was the end of his story? And what about you? Will you stop now? Don't let the pain of today erase the future that's still ahead. You are bigger than your crisis. You are stronger than your loss. You are more capable than you think. Maybe what you're facing now is trying to make you forget who you are. But God reminds you, you were created with a purpose. You are a son. You are a daughter. You have value. And you know what else? Heaven doesn't write stories without purpose. Every chapter of your life is being recorded by a God who sees everything. He saw when you cried in silence. He saw when you said, "I'm fine," but inside you were falling apart. He saw when you thought about giving up, but still got up the next day. So why do you think He would let your story end like this? It doesn't end in pain. It doesn't end in loss. It doesn't end in doubt. You will smile again. You will love again. You will rebuild. You will see everything God promised you fulfilled in the smallest details. But right now, you need to decide to keep going. Here's a simple but powerful exercise. In the next 3 days, write a letter to your future self. Talk about how you're feeling today, about everything you're facing. But then, also write about what you hope to live, what you believe God will still do. Declare it with faith, as if you've already won. And keep this letter, because one day, you will reread it and realize that what once was just faith became reality. You didn't come this far by chance. God has sustained you this far, and He didn't bring you here to abandon you halfway. You're not a draft. You're a masterpiece in process. And the most beautiful page of your story is still ahead.